Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane and we are standing in Paris in the heart of architecture and design. And today we are going to look at an 18th century mansion in the heart of Paris, right next to the Pantheon. And actually right around the corner of this incredible house, Emily in Paris has been filmed. So we are really standing in the center of where everything is happening. This house is actually the home of the owner of Homani, which shows hand-picked and well-designed locations all around Europe. The couple bought this house for their family in 2003 and renovated the entire building. This mansion is over 200 years old and used to belong one single family before this and was just inherited throughout the generations. So this is the second family that is living here. And because the family has 4 kids, in 2016 a third level was added to the house to just fit the expansion of the family. But if you wouldn't know this, you wouldn't really see it because it was done very well. And you still just have the seamless historical French facade. As you know, in Paris usually everything is quite tight and you don't have that much nature. So this house actually has its own garden with even a swimming pool. At the same time, we have this very calm little oasis in the center of the city. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And now let's go inside. As we come in, we walk right inside the open living area. And you can see that even though we have a historic facade and the historic charm has been kept throughout the apartment, you still have a very modern place. The entire house has been renovated again in 2016, so we have a very high standard. As soon as you walk in, you are greeted by this expansive library and you can go into both directions. Over here we have the living room, and to the other side you can go inside the dining room, which then again leads you to the kitchen. Now this is actually my absolute favorite part of the house, the heart of the home, and that is the kitchen. And the kitchen is just your absolute dream Parisian kitchen. The wooden panels are painted in a charcoal gray. And it just instantly reminds you that you are in Paris in the heart of architecture. And I absolutely love and adore these panels. Quick update from editing next week's video. You know how much I traveled to film all of these incredible places from Paris to Copenhagen, and also super soon I will be going to Asia. But what you don't see is what happens after I leave the space. Reviewing the 4K footage, backing up all of the video files. And recently I ran into a really big problem. So my laptop and my hard drives were all completely full and I still had to access the files while I'm traveling. So I finally found a solution that actually works. The Ugreen NAS, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. This little thing over here doesn't look like anything special, but it is absolutely incredible. It's basically like having your own private cloud at home, except without having to pay any monthly fees, and it can store up to 60 terabytes, which is thousands of videos, photos, movies, documents, all in one place. And the best part for me is that I can access the data from all over the world, which is such a big game changer because I'm always traveling to give you guys the most incredible apartment tours out there. The Ugreen NAS DH2300 has a 4K 60Hz HDMI port. It also works as a full 4K media hub, which means that I can browse and instantly pull any file I need. And since the 1 GB LAN port supports up to 125 megabytes per second, I'm able to transfer my videos super fast, and it has been an absolute game changer for my workflow. The Ugreen NAS is available on Amazon as well as on the Ugreen web store, and they're running some of the best deals of the entire year right now, up to 25% from November 20th to December 1st. I will leave both links in the description so that you can see which one works the best for you. The kitchen actually is an extension of the building and formerly used to have a tilted roof, but the couple decided to exchange it for a flat roof so that you could have a terrace that I will show you later. Another little detail that just lightens up this kitchen is the light shaft that we have right above me. And it just brings in so much natural light and it's an absolute gem. And what I also love about this kitchen is that it isn't too luxurious or too pretentious. but that you just have a little round farmer's table and farmer's chairs that are standing around it. And you can just imagine the couple having a cup of coffee in the morning or writing down something, and it just feels very homey and just has a very, almost like a farm-like atmosphere. And I absolutely love it. And of course, in every proper Parisian kitchen, we need a cast iron metal oven, which is just absolutely incredible to have. On top of it, we again have this cast iron pot, and it just adds this very rustical but of course still sophisticated touch. Because we are so lucky, and on the outside you have this little oasis of a garden. Whenever you do your dishes, you can just look outside through the historic French windows and look inside your garden and see the birds chirping, or currently it's raining, unfortunately. And you can just really feel in the energy of the room that this is the heart of the home. And just in this shelf, you can see the family's expansive collection of architecture and design books. And I love that a lot of family artworks have been kept. This, for example, is a sculpture of the grandfather, and it's just been passed throughout generations. And all of the little different sculptures and artworks we can see are just family treasures that have been collected throughout the years. And over here, we come into the living room area. Formerly, this part of the house actually used to be a bedroom, but the couple decided to turn it into an extension of the living room so that you have more space. The center of this room is the historic fireplace from the 18th century. And on top of the fireplace, we have a grand, luxurious gold mirror that just acts as a focal point, enlarges the room, and as soon as you enter the room, it just pulls and draws in your attention. And one little piece that I really like that also acts as decoration, but of course also has its own purpose, is this big harp that we have standing, because two of the kids of the families love to play the harp. And you see that it isn't hidden or tucked inside the corner. It just acts as a statement inside this room and gives it a very unique and lively atmosphere. With these historic architecture that stems from the French Revolution, the facades are always marked by very tall windows that go all the way up to the ceiling. And they give the wall its own little rhythm, and at the same time let a lot of light come in. And this historic structure just floods the room with light and gives it its own little repetition. The furniture is very modern, so you have a very strong contrast of the historic facade and the historic structure of the building. And this contrast adds attention and makes it seem very effortless. And throughout the living space and also the rest of the rooms that we will have a look at, you have a very minimal and reduced color palette that speaks of sophistication and elegance. We have very muted colors like charcoal gray or soft browns and whites. Now, when I first came inside this house, I would have never guessed that the artwork that is hanging above the sofa table isn't actually a painting, but it's actually a photograph of a woman. And it has also been taken in Paris in a parking lot. And again, it just also draws in this very muted, sophisticated color palette, and it also just reminds me of this nostalgic Parisian flair. Over here we have a little desk where you can work during the day while looking outside into your little garden. The layout that we have in this house is very typical for houses that have a few different floors, so that the entire living area is in the ground floor. So when you have guests in, this is basically your public area where you entertain. But at the same time, all of the more private spaces, such as the bathrooms or bedrooms, are hidden upstairs, and you still have this privacy inside your own house. The dining room area is also very sophisticated and again has this muted and very relaxed color palette. We have a big wooden table and soft fabric chairs. that just add this perfect balance of elegance and comfort, because this house was really meant to be the home of a family and not just a display of luxury. So every little detail is here to just turn this house into a home, and you can just feel it in every direction that you look at. And you can see that even though we have very modern furniture, we still have a very classical and symmetrical layout. So on top of the cabinet that spans across the wall behind the table, we have a very big artwork by a very cool French artist who loves to draw these tutus from the ballerina dancers. And the abstract artwork gives this room just a very relaxed, dreamy atmosphere. Now, behind this custom wooden door, the powder room and wardrobe is hiding, so that whenever you have guests staying over, everybody, or just the family themselves, everybody can just put their things inside here and close the door, and it just always looks neat whenever there's people coming over. And these are the types of rooms that are often forgotten, or that you don't think about when creating your own space, but they're super important, well curated and clean atmosphere in your home. This little corner has been used again very well. You have a tucked in, almost hidden shelf where you can just display some of your favorite books, or we even have a fossil that has been put inside. And of course, family pictures are important, but it's also always important to remember to not just let them go out of hand. And this family just has a little curated collection of family portraits throughout the years, and it just collects them here in the staircase. And this is again a very simple yet great way to elevate a tight space. And now we will go inside the ensuite bedroom that actually takes up the entire first floor. And as soon as you walk in, you feel like you're in a hotel. You can definitely see that an interior designer has been at work, because the entire ensuite bedroom is equipped with custom cupboards in this dark walnut wood, and it just feels very luxurious and thoughtfully curated. And this is what's so genius about these custom shelves, is that they act almost like walls. You don't really notice them, but at the same time they store all of your clutter, and whenever you come home after a long day, everything is perfectly clean. So over here we have a little seating area where you can rest or read a book, and the entire row of Haussmannian windows has been draped with curtains on both sides of each window. And they just again create this repetition inside the design and just add this extra luxurious level of comfort, because you just have so much fabric inside this room. And here we walk into the actual proper bedroom that is again a very clean and minimalist space that just speaks of modern comfort and quiet luxury. You can again see that we have a perfect sense of symmetry inside the room that just cites the historic classical architecture of the building. At the same time, we still have all of these wooden touches that turn it from a regular bedroom into a hotel-like atmosphere. And on both sides of the bed, we have little niches that are completely covered in brown leather. And again, you just have this little hotel-like experience. And they're illuminated with beautiful golden lamps that just give off this very warm light. And over here, we even again have our own little chimney. Behind these walls, we have a wardrobe hiding, which seamlessly integrates itself into the wall. And on this side, we have our own little desk, as well as a bathroom. And here we have very historical pieces and a wooden desk. And the view again is the garden and the outside. And all of the clutter that comes with having a working area is hidden behind this wooden cabinet. Over here is the bathroom, and we are greeted by a freestanding, generous hot tub that is standing in front of a wall that has been paneled with dark walnut wood again. On one side we have a very big vanity with 2 sinks and a very large mirror that enlarges the space and lets the light bounce around in the room. And my favorite thing about this bathroom is actually that behind this wooden wall we have the toilet hiding, so we just have this very invisible situation that has been created. And on this side, we again have a fully equipped shower. And as I told you in the kitchen before, the roof has been turned into a flat modern roof, so that this ensuite actually has its own little outside terrace. And you know that whenever you have a terrace, you just have so much more life quality, because in the summer you can open the doors and just let the outside flood in. You just have this natural extension of the space. And I love the fact that because of this light shaft, we can actually look inside the kitchen. Now, let me show you the third floor that has been added in 2016. One of the only details where you can actually see that the third floor isn't actually from the 18th century is because we have a modern staircase. And I love that the designer decided to do this, that you didn't just basically create a fake historical staircase, but that instead you accentuated and showed the marks that you left on the building with a modern one. And this is one of the few moments in the house you were reminded of the sometimes narrow spaces in Paris, because we have a very steep and very narrow staircase. Now, this is really the home of the kids, and this is the first of the 4 bedrooms that we will find here. And honestly, if I would have had this bedroom when I was a child, it would have been my absolute dream. Because over here you have your own little space, and the entire space is very minimal and modern, but you have this bright blue wall that just adds this very strong and bold accent, and I love it. And you can still see that the space itself is very curated. We have vases or plants or even a little seating area. And there's so many secrets hiding in this bedroom. So if we go upstairs, we come to the actual sleeping area. You can see that the staircase again has been marked with this bright blue railing, and it just again adds this almost postmodern aspect to the design. And now come upstairs with me. You just have your own little sanctuary, and little bits of the same bright blue color just create this very cohesive design story and make it feel very sophisticated, but at the same time still very modern. And the entire space is minimal and clean. And one of the few very cool things in this room is that over here we have a little net where you can relax. And this of course is amazing for a tight space, because it just lets you use the space while still having a 2-story bedroom. I would have really loved this when I was a kid. And now to the absolute best thing that I've seen in this house yet, is that actually here, through this door, you actually have your own little entry into the bedroom of the second child. And you actually have 2 twins living here. So basically, when the twins were younger, they had the secret little passage that would let them just go to each other's rooms. This bedroom itself has the exact same layout as the other bedroom, but we have a very different design. So here the colors are even more muted. It's still very minimalist, but instead of all of the blue accents, we have black accents. So it feels much more minimal, and you can see that we have 2 Bauhaus prints here. The kids also have their own little library hiding behind the round staircase. And this again is just another great use of space and having multiple functions for the same space, because this exact wall could have just been kept completely unused. And the kids even have their own little bathroom, or multiple bathrooms, but I will just show you this one. And again, you have a perfectly curated, clean, minimalist space with 2 sinks, so nobody has to fight. It's just an absolute dream. Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane, and we are standing in the heart of Paris in the 8th arrondissement. We're about to step inside Malesherbes, a breathtaking Parisian apartment that's part of Le Collectionnist's exclusive rental collection. The couple who lives here opens it up only when they travel, and we're lucky enough to film it today. And of course, we have our own Instagram where we post behind the scenes content and just more daily updates. Now, let's go inside and explore this absolute gem of an apartment. Now, as soon as we come into the apartment, you can see that an absolute master was at play. Like I already said, the building itself was built in the 19th century. And like many apartments in Paris, it is kept in this Haussmannian style, which is a term coined by George Eugene Haussmann, who created this kind of set of rules for how apartments in Paris should look. And that is, of course, also on the outside, so that you had these wide boulevards, trees on both sides of the street, but also that the facades had to be kept in this very light limestone, and that you just had this very cohesive look of the entire city. And another thing that is very typical about the Haussmann style is the fact that you have these little iron balconies that are too small to do anything proper on them, but where you can just basically go outside and stand, drink a cup of coffee. As we enter into a hallway that has been kept in this dark indigo blue color. It's just a very sophisticated and elegant color palette. And the dark moody walls that have rich paneling are accentuated by brown and gold accents. And I absolutely love this Piatil lounge chair. It just adds such a rustic and unexpected nuance to this otherly, very elegant and sophisticated design. From the hallway, we can walk right into the living room. The living room itself has almost 80 square meters of the entire 200 square meter apartment. So it is a very spacious space, and you can just really feel the energy flow through. As soon as you walk in, you just feel immersed into an entirely different color world. And you know that this is what I love so much about color, that the atmosphere shifts depending in which room you are. As soon as you enter the space, you are greeted by very tall windows that span from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. And this is another thing that's very typical for this Haussmann style, because it just lets light flood into the apartment and just creates this very dreamy and alive atmosphere. And you have a very strong visual connection to the outside. This apartment has been bought in 2016 and has been thoughtfully and thoroughly renovated for over 6 months. The goal was to really respect and keep the historic structure of the building alive. And this is what I love, that you just have this almost clash of modern designer icons and modern pieces of furniture inside these historic walls. On the floor we have a chevron wood parquet, which is also very typical for these Haussmann Parisian apartments, and it just screams of the city. And on the ceiling we have these gigantic round ornament moldings that just elevate the space and take you back to when this apartment was built. Over here we have the sofa area, and there's a play of harmony and disrupting the harmony. So on the one hand, because this is a classical building, the design stays true to the classical history and is very symmetrical and orderly, but at the same time the L-shaped sofa breaks up the symmetry and creates a certain tension inside the room. And this is what good design is all about not strictly following the rules from beginning to end, but about being a little bit playful. Another thing that just adds this burst of energy to the design is that we have this very nuanced color palette that is accentuated by bright orange accents. And this just really creates this burst of energy throughout the apartment. So, for example, on the one side of the fire pit, we have the Nasino lamp by Artemide, or we have an orange vase, or also the Ligne Rosé Togo Pouf. Another thing that I love is that we have a very expansive art collection. So the owner of this apartment loves to collect art and has collected it throughout Japan, Asia, and Africa. And so we have all of these modern and also historic pieces that are paired with each other. And this just again creates and adds so much dimension to the design. And you can see that this very modern art collection, such as this by Victor Vasarely, can coexist with all of these almost ancient sculptures found in Africa or Asia. And you just have these clashes and these different worlds colliding in the same room, and that is what makes it so unique. So as soon as you enter this room, the focal point is without a doubt this incredible chandelier. These chandeliers are actually called Sputnik chandeliers, and they are inspired from the first satellite Sputnik that went into space, and they are more of a mid-century twist on the more classical chandeliers. So you just have these chrome and glass pieces, and they just give off this crazy light and have this insane energy. One of my favorite pieces in this apartment is this Japanese armor that dates back to the 16th century. It actually comes from one of Japan's biggest art and sculpture collectors, and it is standing in this apartment today. This apartment doesn't just tell one single story, because it really depicts just the multitude of interests of the owner. On top of the fireplace, we have a dark tinted golden mirror that again accentuates the place. We have another very historic old African mask where it's not quite sure to which date it dates back because it's so old, but it's also very special. And I just love that there's just an endless source of inspiration that you can pull from this apartment because it has just so many different layers. And you can see that the straight and angular atmosphere of the space is broken up by rounder or more soft elements. And the round moldings that we have on the ceilings are again mirrored in the round marble sofa tables. And this again just creates this connection between the different design periods. Now let's take a look at the kitchen. The kitchen consists of an entire wall that has been turned into a kitchen. And in front of it we have a very generous kitchen island. And what I love is that the kitchen island seamlessly extends into a table that has just been placed after it. So you just have this very long and clear room layout. So what I love is that you have two different heights here, and you just have this almost bar-like atmosphere, but further down you have the actual proper dining table, and you have a lot of different materials at play. The kitchen island is kept in a black Italian marble that has a very strong wainscoting, and to just add a little bit more of a softer touch, to create a little bit more of a warm and hearty atmosphere, you have a very big wooden table with vintage wooden chairs and all of these natural and wooden elements. Just create again this more laid-back atmosphere and don't scare anybody who's visiting off from eating here or just spending some time here. The kitchen kind of fades into the background because it consists just of this entire black wall. And we have black panels and some wooden accents, and of course again this gorgeous Italian marble. And even the kitchen has little niches where you can display your personality and add some historical objects or add a vase, and this just again really elevates the design and makes it fully yours. Also, every proper kitchen needs a little storage area. So behind here we have a pantry hiding where you can just store your dry ingredients, and this is always a great room to have to keep your apartment neat and tidy when people are coming over, like when I'm coming over. Another aspect that makes this room feel so alive and so full of vibrancy and richness is because we have a very smart and holistic lighting design. At the same time, we have sconces, we have indirect lighting behind the bookshelves, but we also, of course, have lamps hanging from the ceilings or standing next to the sofa tables. And this just again lets the eye wander through the room and just be pulled from one lighting source to the next one. And this just again creates this very lively and vibrant atmosphere. Let's go into the first master bedroom. And you can see that as we go outside the room and back into the hallway, the entire atmosphere and energy changes. Because here the primary color is blue, which is kind of almost the opposite of orange. So you just have a radical shift. So this is the primary bedroom. Because this is a space to wind down, it is kept in much more neutral colors, but you still, of course, have a few eye catchers here and there and a very proper and nice design. Outside your window, you can soak up the beautiful facades of Paris and just this unique Parisian flair that you won't find anywhere else. Everything in this room and in this apartment feels very effortless, so you just have this very nonchalant atmosphere. Basically, the overall design is very elegant, but nobody put too much effort into it. So this room again has the beautiful chevron parquet and the intricate moldings on the ceilings. But the color palette is much more nuanced. The walls are kept in a crisp white and again are covered with the historic moldings that just gives the entire room its structure and its Parisian flair. And again, like in the living room, the design pulls inspiration from a lot of different periods. So on this wall over here, we have two Art Deco sconces. And in the bottom, we have this Snoopy lamp from Flo's, which is also a very modern one. And for the bedside tables, we actually have Scandinavian teak bedside tables that again create this more laid-back, relaxed atmosphere. And of course, like in the rest of the apartment, we have pops of color that come through the artworks that are displayed. And you can really see that the artwork is the star of the show. You have this almost hotel-like atmosphere because the room layout itself is again kept very symmetrical. So on your one side, you have your own little walk-in wardrobe that is almost as large as this entire room. And on both sides of the bed, you have an entrance to the bathroom. And this just creates this full circle moment inside this little ensuite. And here, the design is much more minimal and laid back because the bathroom is supposed to be a place where you calm down and take care of yourself, not a place where you're supposed to be inspired. So we have these very large stone tiles that clad the entire space and just create this very clean atmosphere. And again, for the vanity, we have a floating vanity that has been created from the same Italian black marble. It just again adds this very luxurious hotel-like atmosphere to the design. And of course, like in every other room, we have this impeccable lighting design that you just have this ambient, indirect lighting, and that just really fills this room with energy. So again, through the dark blue hallway, we can enter two different bedrooms and a little powder room that is hiding behind this door. And here again, a regular powder room has been turned into a little wow moment with its jungle wallpaper. And this is again just this little eye for adding a little bit extra and putting a little bit effort into an otherwise overlooked space. Now I will show you the second bedroom, but again, we enter through hallway. And what I love about the hallway is that on one side, we have these black and white artworks that again frame one side of the hallway. And this is the second bedroom, and it is also much more minimal compared to the rest of the apartment or compared to the living room area. Again, we have the chiffon parquet and the beautiful moldings on both the ceiling and the walls. the goal was to create a much more reduced space. Here we also have much more laid-back furniture, so a lot of the items are vintage, and it's really the art that pops off the walls and that creates the unique design. So here we again have an artwork by Victor Vasarely, and these geometric patterns just add this new dimension to the design. Even though this space is much calmer and much more minimal, and the main color really are whites and browns, you have these little color accents. For example, the two lamps on both sides that are kept in this green glass, and they just add these small bits of color. And of course, we have our own little writing desk that consists of a vintage chair and a vintage table, and you can just journal your thoughts in the morning or read an interesting book, or of course do a little bit of work. And like every other room in this apartment, we have our own little balcony. And here we can just walk outside and have a cup of coffee in our morning, or just look at our beautiful Haussmann style iron balcony with all of these little ornaments and details. And here you can even see the light limestone facades that I was talking about before, that are just very typical for Paris and for the Haussmann style. And of course, this bedroom also has its ensuite bathroom. And again, we have a very bright and minimal space that is very modern. Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane, and we are standing in Paris, in the heart of architecture and design, and especially good taste. And today we are going to look at one of the most incredible places I've ever seen. Come inside. We are standing in the Salon du Temple, which used to be a music salon in the 17th century. And today it has been completely transformed and turned into an incredibly eclectic artist space by the artist Iris Broche and the interior designer and decorator Stefan Blanc. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe, and let's have a look at this incredible bijou in the heart of Paris. So the salon is located in the first floor, the most prestigious floor, in the Quartier du Marais in Paris, which is also a very modern and very cool district today, but it has really a lot of history. Now, this apartment isn't your typical apartment. It is partly rented out, but it is also a location for a lot of different photo shoots and art installations. And it is a very special location in Paris because of the eclectic interior design. The interior designer and decorator Stefan Blanc himself comes from a merchant's family, and he has his own stores, and he just put all of his knowledge and love into these walls. And you can really see that he took inspiration from a lot of different epochs, so all the way from the 17th to the 18th and also the 19th century. We can find a lot of different vintage source pieces here. Another thing that's very special is that when they found this place a few years back, this apartment was actually compartmentalized and divided into a lot of small rooms, and they just really managed to restore the incredible beauty of this place. So as soon as you come in through the door, you just have this long view outside the window. And of course, in a big and expensive city such as Paris, this is very rare. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, where we post a lot of behind-the-scenes content and more interior design stories you won't find anywhere else. To both sides on one wall, we have very high windows that span from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. And they just flood the apartment with light, and also when we entered, the windows were open, so you always have this burst of energy and fresh wind coming in from the outside. Another very historic and important piece inside this apartment is the floor. The floor is actually a parquet de Versailles, which means that it has the exact same technique that also the parquet in the Chateau de Versailles. And it is a very complicated and sophisticated technique. And so this floor is actually over 400 years old, from the 17th century. And it's just absolutely incredible that we get to stand on this today. Usually you just get to look at these kinds of floors in museums, but not actually stand on them. And what I love the most is that the designer didn't try to fix the parquet or to turn it into a modern one, but you can really see every single stain, every single scratch. When I walk, you can hear the creaking of the floor below me, and that's just what fills this room with so much atmosphere and vibrancy. And as soon as you walk into this room, you just are transported into a very unique atmosphere and mix of epochs. Another thing you can't help but notice in this room is the presence of a lot of different mirrors, and they also really just turn this from a regular historic room into one with a lot of different facets. To further underline the symmetry in this room, we have two wardrobes on both sides that are also clad in mirror, and they are inspired by Louis XVI, and also they are very strongly in the spirit of Marie Antoinette, and they just really portray this feminine elegance and just sophistication that this place is all about. And if you want to learn how to create a gorgeous and cohesive color palette for your own home, this is exactly what we will be covering in the Interior Designer Color course. How to use color like a real designer, not just by guessing, but by really understanding the framework. There are 5 modules and 26 video lessons, a fully printable workbook, and to top it off, at the end you'll even get a 30-minute private consultation with me to answer any remaining questions that you have about color, color palettes, or creating a balance. So to find out more, go and scan this QR code or click the link in the description. Here we have another very unique situation. So this sofa that you see here today is actually a cast iron bed. To just add a little bit of a fun and untypical element, this was used, and it's very comfortable. I sat on it before, and also it has incredible details. And these are all just images that symbolize the paradise, and that's absolutely incredible. All of these historic and almost boudoir furniture, we have a very contemporary art collection of the artist Iris Brosch. And on every wall we have a lot of different artworks, and you just have this strong contrast of all of the heavy and rich furniture items with the modern, sometimes quirky or edgy artworks that are surrounding yours itself. This place is just an incredible source of inspiration in whichever direction you look. They actually come from the period of Louis XV. They were selected for the space because they have a very low profile. On the one hand, they just enlarge the height and spaciousness of this room, but at the same time, because we have very low windows, they don't distract and take away from the view. So basically, when you sit on the chairs, you have nothing disturbing the view and you just have the perfect free flow. We have this absolutely incredible table that is from the designer Bagues, and he creates these incredible pieces and works a lot with glass and also with metal, and it is from the end of the 19th century. You know, I love it whenever you look at a piece and you can see its history and the time has left its mark on it. And this is in general something that is so incredible about the space, as that it's in constant movement. So every time you come in, the designers have changed something or exchanged a piece of item or added something new, and you feel that this is not like a museum, but it's really a space that is lived in and that is by its own definition alive. The quartier that this apartment is in is called Le Marais, and this is one of the very few areas in Paris where you actually still have these very historic and old buildings from the 17th century. Like I told you in some other apartment tours that we filmed, at some point you had this re-urbanization of Paris and transformation of the Haussmannian architecture. So it's actually very rare in Paris to have these very old building, and also that comes with very high ceilings and quite wide windows. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can go and subscribe right now. And of course, over here we have a very special marqueterie table that is from the period of Napoleon III. And you can just get lost in its details. The marqueterie also again just shows and tells us the story of the transformation that this salon went through. Now let me show you the bedroom that is also one of a kind and just takes you back in history. This is the bedroom, and you can see that it is just a Parisian dream. Over here we have the bed, and the bed frame is from the 1880s, and it is from solid walnut wood, and you have these Vermaton paintings on them, and they've actually been hand painted in gold, and you just have these floral motifs. And from this bed the source of inspiration has been pulled, and you just have little floral elements. They just completely finish and tell the story of this romantic fantasy and of living in Paris and spending your time here in a historic place such as this. Also, of course, when the artist used to live here, it wasn't like this, but now when she sometimes rents it out, when the guests leave or when they have celebrated some special event here and they want to keep a little souvenir, over here we have a historic vitrine with little items coming from all over Europe and little porcelain pieces, and you can pick one out just to remember your stay or just to remember your unforgettable experience. Like in any good bedroom, we have our own cast iron bathtub. The cast iron bathtub is from Herbaut à Lille, so it is produced in Lille in the south of France, and it is in the style of Marie Antoinette, and it just again adds this very luxurious and elegant touch to any apartment and reminds you that you're in the heart of Paris. And through the windows you can look out and just take in the view of the 17th century courtyard. And this is really a very unique quartier to be in because most of them have been modernized. But here we are really still in history. And of course, also in the bedroom, we have the theme of mirrors that just add this little mystery and reflection to the room. To both sides of the bathtub, we have golden vintage Italian mirrors. Or over here, this mirror is from France, and it is actually a combination of a wooden frame paired with plaster ornaments, and it's also a very unique technique. And my favorite thing about this room is that over here we have a little table from the 19th century, and it was actually cut open and a golden sink has been inserted, and now you just have this beautiful little unique vanity. And you know I love it whenever pieces or furniture items are used in an unconventional way to suit your own needs. So now we will go into the kitchen, and the kitchen has been reimagined in a new type of way. And that is that this is not supposed to be a place of prestige or representation, but it's really supposed to be a place where you prepare your meals or have a cup of coffee in the morning. And so all of the items that we have here are supposed to reimagine really this more rustic, almost countryside way of life. One detail that I love is that we have this gigantic mirror where the table has been placed in front of, and it just enlarges the room and takes up the theme of mirrors that we have throughout the apartment. But because we have these very high ceilings, the designer decided to tilt the mirror by 90 degrees, and he even added another golden vintage mirror from the 17th century on top of it. And this just creates this modern, contemporary masterpiece with historical details. You have a 4-meter high mirror created just through your imagination. So this chair just takes you back to the farm side of Marie Antoinette, and if we take a closer look, we can even see that the back of the chair is inspired by wheat that is swaying in the air. And the entire story of the kitchen is just that you're having your breakfast by the countryside and Maybe you just picked some fresh fruits in the garden that you can see looking outside your window. And you still have this charm and elegance, but the elegance really lies in the simplicity and in honoring great and fresh food. On the other side, we have a simple rustic wooden kitchen that further just underlines the simplicity. And I love that they just put up a row of little nails and you have all of the different cutting boards and even some knives hanging up. Perfectly underlines the story of simplicity and the beauty that lies in it. Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane and we are standing in Paris in the heart of architecture and design. And today we are going to look at an incredible 180 square meter apartment that blends the Haussmannian architecture with the Napoleon style. If you like designs that are filled with layers and layers of history and that are just absolutely magnificent, this video is for you. If you haven't subscribed yet, go subscribe right now. And now, let's go inside. And of course, we have our own Instagram where we post behind the scenes content and just more daily updates, so you can also find us there. The building itself stems from the Haussmann period and was built in 1920. So the entire structure of the building exactly comes from this period. And we have what is very typical for the Haussmannian buildings, a three-part reception room, which is basically 3 rooms that are lined up after each other and that you can pass through by doors, and they are like the very representative and prestigious aspect of this apartment. Around 17 years ago, the couple who lives here today with their kids bought this apartment and has lived here ever since. As soon as you come in, we enter the hallway and you can see that this is again a very formal area from which you can go into all of the different rooms. And a detail that I love is that we have this checkered black and white marble floor because it just adds such a graphic element to the design, and it's very typical for these Parisian apartments. The walls are clad with a stuc technique that comes from the 1920s, and it is a very typical detail of Napoleon architecture, and it's supposed to mimic marble because back in the times it was cheaper to make this rather than to clad all of the walls in marble. But actually today it's a very difficult and very expensive technique that basically nobody knows how to do. So if anything would happen to these walls, you wouldn't be able to restore them, but you would in fact have to go for proper marble, because these days marble is much cheaper than this very expensive and difficult technique that we have on the walls. The color palette of the hallway and also of the rest of the apartment kind of reminds me of almost an oasis, because you have this very warm sandy brown color of the walls, and in front of them we have all of these bright green plants that just lighten up the space, and it gives off a very tropical flair and ambience. I also feel like whenever I get to visit a new apartment and just immerse myself in a new story of a building and its architecture, I just learn so much, and I've collected these different tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. And so I've created a small free guide. If you're interested, you can scan the QR code or find it later in the description. So I hope it serves as some inspiration for you. Now, this is the living room, and this is still the living room and the center of the home today. And in fact, when this building was built in 1920, when still the first family who owned this apartment, this was the first of the 3 reception rooms. And actually, you probably won't believe it, but the first woman who ever took part in the 80 du Mans, in the race, this used to be her apartment, and she used to own the entire building. And this is exactly why this apartment is especially exquisite. This area used to be the dining room. Today it is the living room. And the woman used to park her Bugatti right in front in her little garage at the entrance of the house. What makes this apartment so interesting is that you have the historical structure of the apartment that comes from the Haussmann period, but the lady that took place in the 80 du Mans was a big fan of the Napoleon architecture and style. So you have a lot of mixes of different inspirations. And all of the wallpaper that you can see here has actually been hand painted over 100 years ago. And all of the green panels are still original, as well as the mirrors that are embedded inside the handles. And it feels like you're walking inside a museum. The marqueterie parquet floors that consists of a lot of different places of wood and are also a very expensive and difficult technique actually used to be in another palace, and then they were hand cut and inserted into this building, so they are even older than the 1920s. They come from the 18th century. And a very interesting fact, I believe my favorite actually, is that in the center of the parquet we have a little bell, and above this bell is where the dining table used to be, and whenever the family was finished eating, you would secretly press the bell and then the staff would bring in the next course. And I love it whenever you don't hide the history and the architecture of this place, but just keep it there, because this is just a very unique detail. As for the furniture, most of the items that we can find in this apartment have been found in vintage shops and sourced all over the country, and even further than that. Over here we have 2 black leather chaises longues, and I also love the glass table that literally consists of a slab of glass placed on top of different books. And this again just gives this luxurious and absolutely prestige-filled apartment a very laid-back and relaxed atmosphere. Like in any proper Haussmannian house, we have a large window from floor to ceiling that is in the center of the room, and it just lets the light and the outsides flood inside. And we have 2 cream drapes that are draped on both sides, and they again just accentuate the heritage and the ceiling height. And of course we have a gigantic marble fireplace that just again speaks of the luxurious history of this place. Now, because today you don't need 3 living rooms after each other anymore, this room stayed and remained the living room. And through this door you used to go into your second living room. But today it has been turned into a bedroom to just better suit the needs of the family. And let's go have a look. This is the first bedroom that used to be another living room. You can again see that we are just inside the Parisian dream. You have this kind of lived-in vintage luxury ambience that isn't too posh, but that just feels like it's been here forever. The walls are kept in this very soft, creamy color, and we have very rich ornament paneling on both sides that is partially even embedded with mirrors. And it just feels like the room of a princess who used to live here. And I feel like in apartments like these, you can just get lost in the details and also in the story of the place, and you can just start to fantasize about what used to happen in this room and who used to live in it. And when the family moved in here 17 years ago, they really tried to keep the history of the place alive, to not modernize it too much, to just really respect the heritage of this unique apartment. Through the hallway and a secret door, we get into the second bedroom. And this used to be the third and the end of the 3 representative living rooms. And this room is actually the heart of the home. It is a round oval room. And if you take a look at the door that I just came through, you can see that it actually is in fact a secret door that used to not really be used. This door used to be just for the staff because it is much lower. I can just about get through, but not everybody can. And this is actually used to be the proper door where the people used to come in and spend time in this room. This bedroom is also through and through from the Napoleon era, where it's very typical to have these oval rooms. And you have a very rich classical structure of the room and also of the apartment, paired with very minimalistic furniture. So you have this very strong contrast. And the backdrop of everything is this oval room that just creates exactly the right amount of drama and tension. And on the walls, we have Corinthian-inspired classical columns that frame the entire walls and give the walls their own sense of repetition. And they are also painted in this olive green and gold accents, and you just feel like you're in a palace, or like you just woke up in a dream. And what I love so much about this room is that it's really just dedicated to one thing, and that is that it's round. We have a sunburst motif on the floor that just basically creates the shape of a sun in the parquet, which is also a very difficult technique to make, and it underlines the round shape. And we don't have too much information in the room, but this room really just has a very clear vision and stays true to what it does best, and that is its shape. Like in any room in this apartment, the windows can be opened and you can go outside and enjoy your little Juliet balcony and drink a cup of coffee in the morning, or just go outside for a quick breath of fresh air as soon as you've woken up. You're in Paris. If we follow the way of the corridor, we are led into the third of the 3 bedrooms, and this is the master bedroom. You can see that here we have much more space, and this actually also used to be the former bedroom. So this space was never intended to be super representative of your family. So it is much more relaxed, but of course we still have a lot of very precious and delicate molding. The entire space still adheres to the Haussmannian style, and that is that you have a very clear room layout that consists of symmetry and cohesion, and you just have this very overall classical design. The bed is tucked into a natural niche of the architecture of the building, and you have doors to both sides. One door to enter, and behind the second one there is a closet hiding. Here you can see that the parquet is also much simpler. It's just a regular wooden floor. We have very large and tall windows that lead out into the balcony. And another aspect that really underlines the symmetry and just satisfying harmony and balance of the space is that to both sides we have mirrors that create this infinity loop. And of course we have a very gorgeous historic fireplace that is made entirely from black marble. You can see how properly the marble has been carved out. And to create a very scenic feeling inside the bedroom, we have large plants placed here and there that just add some vibrancy and life to the place. Plants are always a great thing to put in your bedroom because they create a very nice atmosphere and they freshen up the air. And if you just take a look at this door, you can see the crazy attention to detail in the paneling and just how much love and effort was poured into every single square inch of this apartment. Now we will go inside the ensuite bathroom. The ensuite bathroom is accessible from 2 doors from both sides of the bedrooms, so they're both sharing this bathroom, and it is one of the few spaces in the apartment that has been completely redone. My favorite piece is definitely this cast iron freestanding bathtub. I can only imagine how heavy it is because it did not fit inside the lift and 6 people had to carry it up onto the 6th floor, and that is quite a challenge, I can imagine. And again, we have a beautiful checkered black and white floor that was inspired from the hallway that I showed you before. And another interesting thing, I think, which just shows you that sometimes you should just trust your instinct, is when they bought this bathtub, they originally wanted to paint it another color because they didn't really like this mustard color. But as soon as they placed it inside, they were like, wow, this just adds a touch and a pinch of color inside this otherly minimal bathroom. And then they also found this yellow chair. And this is just a series of unexpected events that you could call that just create and tell the story of this bathroom. Now we come back into the entryway, and now we looked at the part where formerly, when this apartment was built in 1920, the family had their representative living rooms as well as where they actually lived and slept. Through all the doors where the owners used to go and live in this apartment have very high door frames, and all of the doors where formerly the staff and maids of this apartment used to go through. Those entryways are much lower because that's only where the staff used to go to, such as this one. And now we will go through the more narrow hallway and look at the kitchen today that used to be the staff's area. So this entire area used to only belong to the staff, and the people who lived here didn't really go here. And you can also see that here we have a very narrow hallway that also is round and arched, and that's very untypical. And over here you can see also that the hallway has a lot of extra storage area where you can hide away all of your things. And now we come into the kitchen. And this is another incredible piece of architecture where you can just read the history of this place by the floor. So the kitchen always used to be here, but now of course it is the kitchen where the family cooks and has their meals. Before it used to be the staff kitchen where they would prepare the food and then bring it into the dining room. And on the floor we again have the checker tiles and a modern black kitchen with a wooden countertop that just suits your everyday needs. But on the floor we can actually see that the kitchen only used to go until here, and this part actually used to be also a room where the staff used to live. And you can even see where the room ended, and that the hallway used to extend and be very narrow and quite a strange space. But around 10 years the family decided to remodel it and to get rid of this room and to just turn this into a proper dining area and open kitchen. In the kitchen you can see that there aren't many historic details because this place was meant for the staff, and the prestigious families who lived here never really came here. And you can see that today we have vintage chairs and a much more overall modern design language than the rest of the room. And I love this little man over here. He adds a bright red accent, and sculptures are always a great way to add a fun and unexpected twist to any place. And of course, even though the space feels much more laid back compared to the rooms that we previously saw, it's still a gorgeous, typical Parisian kitchen with your cast iron stove that has very cool handles, and everything just reminds you of the city. The kitchen is filled with even more vintage items, such as a very old scale where you can place things to even them out, or antique vintage mirrors that are hung on the walls. And when you look outside, you can just see your own building from the other side and a little view of Paris. Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane and we are standing in Paris in the 9th arrondissement, and today we are going to look at an incredible apartment. The apartment has 165 square meters and used to be a very traditional houseman building, so you still have these beautiful moldings, high ceilings, and a very elegant sophistication. Now let's go and have a look. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe. And of course, we have our own Instagram where we post behind the scenes content and just more daily updates, so you can also find us there. Now, a family of 3 lives here, and the owner is an enthusiastic collector of all kinds of different objects and sculptures. And this is what gives its apartment its edge, and in any direction you look, there's just so much to explore. When the family is not here, you can actually book this place over Airbnb. So if you're interested, you can check the link in the description. So like I already mentioned, the couple here loves to collect different art objects. The result is just a very soulful and alive atmosphere with a lot of vibrant wallpaper or busts or sculptures or even some pieces that the owners designed themselves. And you just have this incredible contrast of the elegant and sophisticated historical buildings of the Haussmannian architecture paired with these very unique and also sometimes a little bit edgy pieces. So very typical for the Haussmannian design is that we always have very high ceilings and of course beautiful intricate moldings both on the walls as well on top. You have the herringbone parquet on the bottom that just creates this new geometry, and you are just reminded that you are in Paris, in the incredible city full of architecture and design. As soon as you enter the apartment, you come into this room, which has been repurposed as an entry room and hallway, and it just sets you up for the unique and luxurious but also very edgy and quirky atmosphere of this apartment. Now, this is the first living room, and what's incredible about these Haussmann historic buildings is that you actually have a row of 3 different living rooms next to each other that are all facing one side. But of course, the apartment was also adapted to its modern standards because today you don't really need 3 living rooms anymore. Every living room has its own marble fireplace, and it is really the centerpiece of the room. That is made from Carrara marble, and it is just another piece that is very typical to the Haussmann architecture. On top of it, we have a very luxurious golden mirror that just underlines the fireplace as a statement piece. As soon as you come in, you can see that the owner and designer didn't shy away from disrupting the elegance of this historic building. In every direction you look, we have all of these very unique art pieces and sculptures, and they've been collected throughout the lives of the owner and throughout their travels. On the marble chimney and on every coffee table, you have art books. And we even have a modern metal bust with a gas mask, and this just brings a very edgy and postmodern atmosphere to the place and shows you that you don't have to follow the rules, but that you can just really turn any historical or classical building into your own. Another furniture item that really merges the 2 worlds of the history and the postmodern one, and that is this unique frame chair, because you are literally just sitting in a Baroque historic frame, and it is by Slokowski. And as far as I heard, it is actually the only one that is in France, so it's a very unique piece. And the designer of this frame chair is a Bulgarian artist, and the idea behind this frame chair is that whoever sits in it instantly turns into the artwork. So the message is that you are in fact the artwork. And my favorite piece inside this unique living room is this little sculpture of a dog. It's called Bagel in Sneakers. And when you look closer, you realize that the bagel is actually painted in historic old Picasso paintings, but he's actually wearing a little shirt and collar of Liechtenstein artworks. And it's just an absolute unique clash of different worlds, and it's just a very fun object you have. Like in any Haussmannian apartment, we have these very high windows that span from ceiling all the way down to the floor. And when you look outside or open them, you just have the beautiful, unique Parisian flair coming in, and the soft, light limestone facades that are just coming in, and you are reminded, and what a beautiful and unique city you are. And of course, these large windows also let a lot of light flood in. Another thing I love about the living room is that we have these play of materials. So all of the historic materials, such as the wooden floor or the beautiful white paneled walls, are very soft elements and very sophisticated materials. But then all of the different tribal sculptures and artworks hanging around are made from very rough materials, such as hard metal, and they have these hard and strong shapes and angles. And this just creates this contrast of worlds and just creates a design with a lot of different layers. And I can only tell you from my own experience that I've learned so much from visiting all of these different apartments and different designs. And I've collected my favorite tips in a free design guide, because I feel like there's just so much valuable to learn. So you can just scan this QR code or find it later in the description. Now let's go inside the dining room. So formerly, this room used to be the second living room of the three, but now it has been turned into a dining room. And you can see that because the doors are so high, you almost have a hallway situation where you can just enter into this room. And this room, again, has as many surprising objects as the first one. The walls are covered in a dark floral Color Sun wallpaper, and this just creates a lot of dimension because you don't just have white walls, but you just have this floral motif that spans all over them. Like in the living room, we have our gorgeous marble chimney with a big historic mirror on top and a lot of different items. Just to underline this and accentuate the floral wallpaper, we have plants and dried flowers standing all over the place. So this place feels full of soul and full of life. And to balance these two worlds of old and new, we have Victorian velvet armchairs standing around that are in this very dark velvety fabric. But at the same time, around the dining table, we have simple wooden chairs that just give everything a little bit of a rustic and more laid-back vibe. And I really love how in every room you come, you just feel like you're walking inside a treasure chest, because there's just so many different objects to explore. The owners didn't shy away from placing a lot of different life-size sculptures inside the dining area. And this gives the room a certain presence, like somebody's inside the room. So here we have two different sculptures that are very unique and also very modern. The sky is covered in different comics and it just looks absolutely insane. Or the sculpture of a woman was actually turned into a lamp. When we go into the third former living room, we come into the kitchen. And later I will show you the now office of this apartment that used to be the historic kitchen, where the maids or workers used to prepare the food and then bring them into the different dining areas. This is the kitchen that we have today. The kitchen has also been covered in a bright red floral wallpaper by Color Sun. You can see that the family here has a love for floral patterns. That's definitely a theme of this apartment. Other than that, we have a simple, modern, quite minimalist kitchen that is just kept in white, and a place where you can see the history of this room, and that this actually used to in fact be a living room with another chimney. Is that down here, if you have a look at the parquet, you can actually see the former lines of where the chimney used to be. And you know I love it whenever you are able to preserve a historic detail of an apartment. Through the hallway, we can walk into the second living room, and you can see also here that every single square was properly used to show your personality. So over here, even though this is just a small room and a hallway, we again have incredible wallpaper, unique pieces of art from Japan, and some art collection books. So when you're wandering and just passing by, you have something to let your eyes wander. This is the second living room, and what I love about the space the most is that I'm obsessed with William Morris, who really formed the decorative arts and just created these incredible flower wallpapers. And this entire room is actually clad in wallpapers by William Morris. And this is just absolutely incredible to see in real life, so I absolutely love it. This space is used mostly as a TV room and as a more relaxed and informal living room. And in this room, I feel like we are reminded the most that we're standing in such a historic Haussmann building. Of course, again, we have a gorgeous fireplace, this time in black marble. And on top of it, you guessed it, we have another golden mirror. And you can just feel that the structure of this historic building comes from really a rich century and just from a very luxurious time. As for the furniture, we have much more classical pieces of furniture standing here. We have a Victorian armchair that is also covered in this rich, strong geometric floral pattern, and you are just transported right back into the world of the decorative arts and of William Morris. And to accentuate this historic room and atmosphere, we have black and white old artworks and sketches that are hung on the wall. Behind this door is the second part of the apartment hiding, and the hallway is very narrow, as you can see, but to give it a little bit more dimension and to add some more fun, we again have this very large black and white graphic wallpaper added. And so that you don't walk into a wall, we have a very high and slim mirror added. It just gives a small space some more dimension and just creates a little bit of a feeling of spaciousness. Over here we have the two powder rooms. And both are again covered in different fun floral wallpaper patterns. And this hallway brings us both to the master bedroom, kids' bedroom, as well as to the incredible library and office that we will have a look at. This is the ensuite bedroom. And again, you can see the couple's love for floral mold motifs and from turning a regular room into an absolutely unique one. As the backdrop for the bed, we have a very unique designer wallpaper by Ellie Cashman, and the way that she creates these wallpapers is very interesting. So basically she takes old historic Dutch artworks such as Rembrandt or something else and takes a tiny piece of them and just enlarges it by maybe 1,000 times, and this is the result of this technique. It's just an ultra magnified version of some famous artwork or artist. Because we don't have too much space, we don't have bulky bedside tables that take away even more space, but instead we have a little slim bedside table that is actually attached to the wall. And of course, opposite of the bed, we have a vintage wooden table and a wooden chair. And on the table, we have a collection of art books that invite you, when you're passing by, to sit down and spend a few minutes looking through the art collection. The primary bedroom has its own ensuite bathroom that we can find over here, and it is a very clean and minimal space. And the hallway leads us to the office, and over here you can see a big book collection that is basically the extension of the office, because this room is just one gigantic library and every single square inch is filled with books. Here we even have two shelves on top of each other, and this one was actually just installed last week to just have even more space of books. And I love the dedication of this collection. And over here we have a very old and historic wooden table where all the work is done in this house. And of course, like in every other room, we have gorgeous floral wallpaper here in a much more muted color, so that you just have this very bohemian flair. And all over the walls we have different artworks and posters that were collected in China, and you were just transported to a completely different time and place on this earth. And this office is actually the room where formerly, when this apartment was built, the kitchen used to be. And behind this mirrored wall, we actually have a second entry hiding where the staff used to go in and out and cook in the kitchen, prepare the food, and then bring it to the living rooms. And last but not least, we come into the most important room of the apartment, and that is the kids' room. This apartment is any child's dream because the walls are covered again in floral wallpaper, but in much more fun and vibrant colors. And in this room there even is yet another fireplace that is kept in red marble, and that is just a very unique thing to have when you're growing up in your own room. All of the toys are tucked away in this vintage wooden cabinet, and it almost is a vitrine because you have these glass doors that show all of the different objects. And another very special piece in this room is the cello that is standing here, and it almost acts as a sculpture because it is not hidden away, but it is a part of the design. And of course, the kids' room itself also has its ensuite bathroom with a vanity sink and of course also with a shower. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and also go watch another incredible historic apartment tour right here.